Hi everyone, welcome back to the art room. Today in art we're going to create a forest scene using plastic animals and a cardboard cereal box. Alright, so here's what we're going to need. A cardboard box or a cereal box. So all I've done is tape up the top of the box, emptied the box of cereal and then slit a window in here to create a little stage, and that works quite well. Okay. Also what we're going to need are some toys, some obvious sort of plastic toys. All I've done is raid my kids' Lego boxes of animals. You could create a desert scene, a forest scene, a dinosaur scene if your child is into that as well. We're going to need some paints as well. I've just got 3 here in a paint palette because what we're going to use are the toys to create the animal tracks using the paint on their feet. So plastic toys are best because of course you can wash them and reuse them. We're also going to need some plants. Now I've just picked up some geraniums or pelargoniums out of my garden. Smell lovely. I've got some iris reeds, which will look fantastic for my stage set. And I've got some Themata australis, which is an Australian native grass from my garden as well. So that adds texture to our scene. I've also got some simple tissue paper to use, some coloured sand, and some glue, some scissors, and possibly a sponge to colour mix some paints. Right, and also a drop sheet and a stand to place your cereal box onto so your child can work. All right, okay, so first things first, I've got my stage set openings. And I've started decorating the cereal box with the coloured sand and my glue. So after we've done that, then we're going to use the toys to create animal tracks. So all I've got is some paper. I've actually found some textured paper. And I'm going to use this as a backdrop and also the floor to decorate the floor of my my cereal box. So, ask your child to choose an animal, dip their feet in the paint, and we're going to start making our animal tracks in our forest. So you can get some really lovely painterly effects. I'm just going to hang mine here so you can see what I'm doing. And your child may like to use the same animal tracks colours for just one animal. So you can see here I'm using a giraffe and creating the tracks that a giraffe might make as it walks through its environment. So I'm going to use orange for my giraffe and blue for my zebra tracks. So you can get really lovely painterly effects using the animal tracks. Okay, and brown for my third animal. And you could talk to your child about making their own footprints in the sand. You might have a sandbox at home, or remember when the days when we used to be allowed to go to the beach and things like that. So talk to your child about their footprints or and their feet making an impression on the earth or the sand, etc. All right, so allow this to dry, and then what we'll do, we'll just cut out the individual tracks and then you simply glue them onto the background of our forest scene. Now I'm going to decorate the forest scene with plants, and I've let my animal tracks dry now, so I'm simply going to cut around each animal type with its track. And your child may have mixed theirs, that's fine. It could be like a stampede through the forest or the savannah, if that's what your child is creating. So a little bit of gluing work is required. And I'm going to add glue to the back of my scene. And then I'm going to add the animal tracks to the bottom and the back of my scene. Okay. We were doing this in art last week with some of the groups, and the level of engagement of the children was really high as we talked about, oh, is this animal stomping or is this an animal quietly creeping around? And so the children were able to, some of them were able to describe how their animal was moving about in its environment. Okay. All right. And of course, you can add animal tracks to the doors here. And of course, you can go all over, front and back of your scene as well. So I'll just add some more animal tracks to the front here too. And it's nice for children to later remember what animals had made a particular track. So if someone comes along later, perhaps who hasn't seen the child create the artwork, and ask them what kind of animal created the orange tracks, it's good for the child to try and remember what animal they used to create the orange tracks, for example. All right, so we've got some lovely tracks happening in there, and I'm going to simply tear my paper, and that's a lovely effect too for the children to make, tearing their paper. And I'm going to glue the top along the top at the back here, and create a nice jungly type collage of torn paper, which sometimes goes over the tracks and maybe sometimes goes behind the tracks. So you can see I'm building up a lovely texturized background and foreground. Working away quietly here. Oops, my paper behind. Okay, and then I'm also going to use the plants now, and I thought I'd hang them off the front of my my cereal box. I'm going to add glue along here, and I'm going to hang them. That coloured sand is dried now. And so I can create a real sort of forest floor and forest top with my lovely reeds. Now, if you have a hot glue gun, by all means use it, but obviously supervise your child. I'm just using PVA glue, and it will dry eventually. to keep these from falling off all the time. And you keep going and going and going and forming the layers. And talk to your child about background and foreground and texture, all the sort of sensory experiences your child has when they're creating their artwork. And then finally, we're going to add our creatures that we've used to our artwork. And of course you can keep going. Last week when we created these at school, we created them on paper. So you could keep going and have dozens of animal tracks on paper coming away from your forest floor scene, and you could actually keep going and keep going. So that's it for today's lesson. And if you would like to be involved with our Term 3 virtual art exhibition, please take a photo of your child's artwork. Please, no child images, hands and so forth. Child working on your artwork is fine, just not their face, please. And email it to me at fran.jackson@vmch.com.au. I'll make sure that we will include your child's work into this term's exhibition. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye.